Greetings and salutations. Ben here, Jim there, y'all right there. Welcome to Sunday night hanging right here, well, on a Sunday, because as the name entails and everything. And we got a fun time ahead of us tonight. No plans, really. Well, I have like 2 questions, and that's about it. And then I know a bunch of people have questions because you inquiring minds and stuff. I don't know, or they're inquirer subscribers. I don't know.
I hope we already can. Otherwise, you'll have to save them for Dave.
This is true. And he'll just tell you it depends. So
yeah,
we give you the real answer.
Like, more about amps than I'll know.
I'll look into it and I'll get back to you. Stuff like that. And,
he knows more about the actual, how all the different models and stuff. I don't know all that stuff. I have to look it up.
Right. Yeah, he's like that. Well, they changed this resistor in 72 from this to this, and that makes it different. Yeah. Oh, all right, sure. Well, let's get to roll call here. We got Earl first in the chat at noon. What are we drinking? I got Coca-Cola, Earl. Classic Coke. And we got Paul McNary saying that he won't be here because he's probably watching, well, as Earl said, Go Chiefs! Because that's what Paul does. We know that. Then we have the voice of Cornhole. Good to see Donnie. Who else we have? We've got Brother Ed, who we got to meet and hang out with yesterday at the Water Buffalo meeting. That was a bunch of fun. Who else do we have? Well, we got the Grand Poobah himself, Ferd Burfel, and Wayne McConnell, and Cushman. Who else? There's Monk.
Kinds of folks.
Just got himself a new guitar, blames me because he's like, you were bonding with that Ibanez last week. I think I'll snag one myself. So he did. Fortunately, it's got a bit of a crack in it. They're going to try to replace that.
A little glue will fix that.
Yeah,
just a little crack.
Just a little crack. There's Terry. What's up, Terry? He knows all about gluing up cracks and stuff. He's working on guitars all the time. I don't know. Eric Warrington's here. He says, it's been a minute. It has. Scales at dawn. No. Who else we got here? I'll talk to Glenn Michael Thompson. Here. Good to see you. Joe McGraw. Our good friend Chris, aka Unfucking Believable. He'll have a bunch. He always has questions. Rarely the answers, but he has questions now.
Yeah, it's always about Mesa Boogies. Why I don't like them.
Well, you might want to talk about this SLO 30. There is that. There's Marshall Murray.
Those SLO 30s. In order to know how to help him, he'll have to send it in here for me to take a look at it.
Right. Extensive.
Hands-on only.
Yeah, I agree. There's Dave. Dave had a marathon hang last night celebrating 9,000. What? 9,000 subscribers.
It's amazing how you can buy them out of China these days, isn't it?
Right.
Just kidding.
Wow. Actually, Dave's he will do a lot of the affordable guitars from the Jungle website, and not gonna lie, there's a following for them, and
I bet
it's scary how good. So it's like he was showing off a Firefly, and it's got the old ball bearing fret ends. I was like, because that takes time for a machine.
Wow.
Still, I don't expect that on the more affordable.
A friend of mine bought one of those Slick guitars by Earl Slick.
Oh, yeah.
Good guitar for the money. He bought the Telly version, and I liked it a lot.
Nice. Dastardly Dave, we got to meet yesterday and hang out with a bit. That was cool. I was like, hey, it's first time here. You got any cool guitar you want to show off? He's like, nope. Okay. Anything you want to talk
about? Death and disease and destruction.
It was dark. Yesterday's hang was very
dark gathering.
Yeah, it was very dark. There's Lawrence Cash of Alaska, and John Landino, and our friend Brian, aka Searching for Tone, along with Dennis Ellis. And I think I missed Trev the first time by. Well, there he is. Symmetry. Lee's got questions. I have questions. All right, Lee. Ask away. Awesome. Eston Ray is here. Rico B. Martin Lemaire. Steve Rezer, because he's Charles' guest today. And Charles asked the question that was on everyone's mind. How do you say your name, Steve?
Rezor.
I
listened. I was there.
Steve's a good guy. I like Steve. Al's G in the house, along with Dave Chase. There's the good doctor himself, Charles75N, hosting chat with Charles. Or as his brother calls it, chilling with Chuck. Just saying. The Hobo Roadie in the house. All Dave, all night. In the house. The legend. I'll put a pin on that one. There's an actual question, so I'll just star it. I can star stuff. Arf is here.
I didn't see a question.
You may not see the starred tab. I have a second tab on the chat that I can. It's like pinning comments, which is kind of handy. There's Eddie Van Haskell. There's Bo.
Eddie
says, sorry I missed you yesterday, but I did show up at the end. Oh, I was aware. He says, ask Trev. Trev texted me. I was getting updates. Because after I left, they went for another 2 hours. So,
did they really?
Yeah.
Out. I had other work to do.
Yeah, it'd be like 4.5, 5 hour hang or something, I guess. It's ridiculous. Oh, there's Michael Krause. Trying to sneak in.
Since I still work, I only have 2 days a week to get my stuff done. So it's fun to hang, but until I retire, I can't.
I think I missed him.
5 hours.
Greasy Monkey Guitars in the house. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of Daves. You can tell there's one right next to you in the comments. See, there's one right there.
These are the Daves I know.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And Trev was right. Trev said that before. I said, yeah, I thought he was just in lurk mode. So I don't know if lurk mode counts. If you're just there, but your camera's off and you're muted, you're there. But are you there?
It sounds like unbelievable.
Holy crap. Matt's alive. Jesus. Haven't seen the guy in days. Won't answer a message. Well, message was, we're hanging. Where the fuck are you? Are you alive? Nope. And then yesterday, apparently had a Christmas party for work or something like that. And he survived it. That's good. There's D. White Bailey.
Blue Hawks.
He just released a new hit last night. What? I can't remember. Rattlesnake Rick or something. No, I don't know. Now there's going to be a song out called Rattlesnake Rick. Speaking of the reason we were dark yesterday.
Yeah.
He was the one that took responsibility. He said it was all him. And I was like, really, Rob? You attend about 2/3 of the meetings, but about 3/4 of them will go dark. So it's not all on you. Tommy's usually good for going dark on occasion. Like right out of the gate. We're like, whoa, Tom. And then we'll just go to and he asked, Jim, do you own Gene Simmons boots?
Well, no, I gave them back to Gene.
Right. All right. Just have to see that one. I think there's Blue Mox. There's Keith. Now we can start. Keith's here. All right. Ooh, a lot of comments. I think we're caught up. All right. There we go. So the question I had here was from Unfucking Believable. He says, question for Jim. Haven't played through the MT-15 in a month. Now it's noisy as hell. Why?
Did you try playing that through another amp? Maybe your cord went bad? I'd suspect something besides the amp.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'd plug into another amp with that same configuration and see if it still does it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen an amp go terribly noisy like that.
So when you plugged in your new Parker, he got a new Parker today, so maybe it's the output jack of the Parker.
I'd try to eliminate the amp from that.
Because he did mention to me he got the guitar and there was a wiring issue. So I'm just throwing that out there as well. But thank you.
I've just never seen an amp turn buzzy and noisy like that quickly. Usually something that creates a buzz or a noise takes time.
And
it's rust in the input jacks.
Yeah,
that's a problem we all have.
Volume pot. Yeah, we'll phlegm in the volume pot. Sure.
We all have rust in our input jacks.
Right. When you reach a certain age. It's just so like guys handing me a shot at the bar. This will clean the rust out of your input jacks. Okay. Good question, though.
If you try it like that and change a couple things around and you're sure it's the amp, come back to me and I'll see if I can help you.
Same cord, not the Parker, just went really noisy.
Have you moved the amp recently?
Yeah. Cable going from head to cab. I'd check that cable, too.
Have you moved it recently, Chris?
Recent all connections.
Yeah, make sure everything's connected.
What's up, Mayhem?
Eliminate the stuff that's easy first. There's always a good rule of thumb.
Ooh, here we go. Lee asks, might buy a new amp. What would you choose? A Mesa Rectifier / Badlander 25 or an Angle Iron Ball SE20, which is like the Steve Morse.
Well, those who know me know my less than high opinion of Mesa. I'd go with the Angle.
I've heard a lot of good things about that Angle.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't recommend the Angle if I didn't think it was worthy.
What's up, Tom? It's Tom Sideways. Tom. What's up, Tom?
Do you have any effects in the line, Chris? Or is it just straight cable?
Yeah, I could just say the obvious, chalk up. It's a PRS amp. You just, you buy PRS guitars. You don't buy the ramps. Just saying. But, hey, Chris likes the thing. What can I say?
And when you're talking noisy, is it like static noise, like something's not making a good connection, or is it more of a hum?
Mayhem just ordered a 3D printer. I'll need to make you a workbench tool. I've got a whole bunch of tool holders, Mayhem. They're all attached to the wall. I just don't use them a whole lot.
Got to clean off your workbench to make it need a tool holder.
Guy commented that goes, I refuse to watch a channel where the workbench that dirty. I went, have a nice day.
Just take the effects out of its hum. Okay, take the effects out of the loop and see what happens.
Yep.
Turn the loop off.
Yeah. Eddie says PRS guitars give you crabs. Okay, Eddie. Rats ate the wiring. That would be more like scorpions and lizards. He's down in there in the desert. LED lights in the area. Ooh. Did you place your phone on top of the amp? Because I used to do that on occasion. They don't like that quite often. The hum sounds like
I'm not suspecting the amp. If it's possible that one of the preamp tubes is failing, but right now I suspect anything but the amp.
Yeah. He doesn't push his amps really. He's living in an apartment. You can't really push the amps too hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Unless he's power soaking them down to like a quarter watt and then just cranking them.
Yeah. Hi, Dwight.
To each other. Yeah. There's Greasy Monkey Guitars. So Blue Monk's got a new guitar. I think I saw something. Bo's bragging about his doctor's appointment next week. Sticking fingers in their orifices.
Oh man,
yeah,
no fun.
Right.
Like I said, I just
Bo seems to be bragging on it an awful lot lately. So I don't know. Whatever kink you're into, Bo.
I just had a colonoscopy about 2 months ago. It's one of my least favorite things in the world.
Right. Yeah, Lee, that happens. I went away for a long weekend. I came back and a mouse built a nest under the intake of my car. I was like, that's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, mice like to get into.
And of course, BC went dark. That's fine, Rob. That's fine. No, even on standby, it's a loud hum. The SLO isn't that noisy on standby. No, it isn't. No amp should be noisy on standby.
Well, noisy on standby, that means it's not getting, there's no signal going out to the anything.
Rob's like, it's what I know.
I mean, literally, what standby mode is it turns off the high voltage lines.
Right.
So the only thing that you shouldn't even have a signal into your speakers.
Mm-hmm. That's how I always forget my amps are on in standby half the time because
can you turn it off, let it cool down, and then pull the preamp tube?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird that it's.
Oh, okay. Got a white. Oops. Oh,
I don't even know how it could do that.
White Frankie relic.
Single-ended amp.
That's right. You sent me the photo or something. I don't remember now. Kind of remember. That's a long time ago. The Monday. Whew. That was almost a week ago. There's Dan Gorman. Doing well, Dan. No, not all amps have standby because people like Dave Friedman don't believe in standby. I was like, really? Because if I turn my amp straight off, I hear a loud pop, and I don't like that. And it gets louder over time.
The reason that they give you for standby is kind of specious. It's to save wear and tear on the tubes, but there's hardly any wear and tear on the tubes.
Exactly.
I mean, it really doesn't make any difference.
No, I find it's like a double door. That's the way I see it. Yeah. It's 2-stage and less, like say, I find if I turn it just straight out, you will hear something like a hiss into a pop. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. Because it's hard on a speaker. You can see the speaker move on those.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
I mean, the vast majority of the power used by an amp is used to warm the heaters in the tubes. Right. So that doesn't turn off. You keep the tubes hot.
Yeah. So it's like I put my amp into standby on set breaks, but I wouldn't necessarily even turn it off on set breaks. Just put it in standby.
Well, the reason they give you that as an excuse for putting it on there is it prevents cathode stripping, which really can't happen on those amps. Right. It just doesn't have enough voltage.
Nice. We have 55. Nope, 53 people. 2 people just stepped out for a dart. That's fine. And please hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. Helps fella out. And, of course, if you got a friend that plays guitar and they're not here, tell them about it. We're trying to hit 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're about 55 away. Just saying. If the numbers keep up, we may hit it by the end of the year.
It is, Bo, but it makes no difference. You didn't use hardly any power anyway. You didn't hurt the tubes. I've left amps on for days.
I've left, many times. I'll come in
And
here.
it doesn't cool your amp down because the heaters are still on.
I always like doing. I come in here and the amps are on, and I'm like, "Wow, when was the last time I played guitar in here?" Oh shit, they've been sitting for 3 days, just the two of them on, just waiting. Yeah.
They do use a bit of power. I mean, that's why the whole heater system in the tubes was one of the reasons that they decided to go solid state. It used so much less electricity.
All right, so my amp question is, I think I may have even asked this last time on, but I forgot. The Fender Princeton, being the quality circuit that it is there a way to make a Princeton louder, or is that just another model Fender amp that's a louder Princeton?
Well, the Princeton has a pretty unique preamp.
Okay.
It's nothing esoteric, but it's different than the other models, especially in the tone section.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what version of the Princeton you have. I mean, you could always look at what you could do to use a higher output tube.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, not simply.
Michael Krause by a second.
You know, that's what Randall Smith did when he created the Mesa Boogie, is he put a big power section on top of a small Fender tube amp.
Okay.
You've seen the original one that he made for Santana, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
With the snake skin.
Right.
Yeah, all he did is take like Deluxes and Princetons and crammed up a big power section on top of the preamp.
Okay.
Of course, when he made his own amps, then he really took that to a whole new level, you know.
Yeah, I always wonder that, because the Princeton, to me, is like the best sounding amp in the world, but it's just wishing we keep up with the drummer.
Yeah, that's the wrong amp to do that.
Yeah.
Princeton is never going to be
louder somehow.
Right.
You know, that was the thing. The sweetness of that amp, but louder.
I mean, just like with the Champ, there were some versions of the Princeton that had more output power than others.
Right. And of course,
there wasn't one circuit for the
12-inch speakers as well, which is always confusing. Some have reverb, some have tremolo, some have both.
You know, if you're best getting a deluxe if you want to keep up with a drummer.
True.
And if you want a modern version of the deluxe for less money, the Blues Junior.
Yeah, exactly.
Those Blues Junior, they have a lot of power.
They have a lot of
I remember I brought one to a jam and they were all looking at me like, what'd you bring that weak thing for? So I turned it up and they go, okay, that's enough. We get it. It's loud enough.
I'm really debating trading in my Blues Deluxe for a Princeton that they have down the road. Because the guy says to me, Jim, so I got this, I think it's a 65 reissue, I want to say.
Okay.
And he's like, it retails for $2,000 Canadian. I'm like, okay, so it's one of the good ones. Sure, whatever. And he says, but we've rented it out a fair amount, so we can drop the price drastically on it. I'm like, okay, because the more they rent out a piece of gear, obviously.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh. So I'm thinking to myself, it's either, it might need some tubes or it's just broken in perfectly at this point. So he goes, I'll let you have it for $1,000. I'm like, oh, well, I don't have $1,000, but I would like to have $1,000 right now. And I think because a Princeton would pair well with the DSL 20 better than the 40 watt that I'm currently pairing with DSL 20. So it would be glorious in here because I don't have to keep up with the drummer. But then again, I'm getting rid of an amp that keeps up with the drummer. But I don't know if I...
Yeah, but doesn't your Marshall keep up with the drummer?
It probably would. It's 20 watts.
Yeah, that's plenty loud.
Yeah. I don't know, because I got up
Blue Junior is only a 15 watt.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But yeah, so... But the Blues Deluxe, they're worth less money, even though they're a bigger amp, because nobody wants a big amp anymore. And it's sad to think a 40-watt combo is a big amp.
Wow, I like Blues Deluxe. Those are great amps.
I really like Princeton's.
Yeah.
Well, see, we're already on that plan, Bo, for the last 2 acquisitions of the guitar and the pedal. Because I walked out the door and I didn't put any money down on them. I just said, I know Bo. And they went, oh, okay. Because that's how Bo rolls. He just takes the gear and leaves and pays later. So,
did Chris say anything more since we?
No, I think he's crying now. He's not impressed. No.
Oh,
well, Bo did ask though. He says, Jim, would you be able to build like the Mr. Scary Mod V2?
I'm trying to rack my brain. The Mr. Scary Mod on what? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, isn't that thing? It looks like 2 tubes that plugs into 1 tube socket.
I'd have to look it up. I can't tell you I could or I couldn't because I'm not sure what it is.
Well, I'm already running stereo mic. So Princeton one side, Marshall on the other is the dream.
Well, my opinion is if they'll take your amp and give you, and you can swing the deal, I think you'd be happier with the Princeton.
Oh, I know I would be. Yeah. And plus, too, Princeton's not that heavy. I don't mind because they don't currently have one in stock. So I don't mind taking my own over there to shoot demos that way, too.
For sure.
Dastardly Dave says, I'm having fun with a Champ with a 12-inch speaker. Nice.
Beautiful.
Yep.
How old of a Champ?
Hey, Dan in New Jersey. Good to see you.
How old of a Champ is it? Is it a 50s, a 60s, a 70s?
Gary's here. There's Charles Green, who's under the weather, but hopefully going to be better by next week when he returns for the next installment of Hanging with Charles Green. Just saying.
Oh, somebody got a Princeton from Sweetwater. Nice.
Brian just got one. Yeah. Which one, Brian? My personal favorite is the one that's reissued, a Tweed with the Canvas Rex speaker in it. He's going to keep the amp on standby overnight. We'll report back tomorrow.
Okay. Well, the next thing you should probably do is be able to get in the back and pull out the tubes. You should not hear any hum on standby. Yeah. I mean, it's just...
Worst case, I can give you the number of a guy local to you that can look at the amp.
The only way I can think that you'd get hum on standby is if you're getting leakage from the heaters into the right. Plate. Otherwise, there's absolutely no high voltage. The standby turns off the high voltage, so there is no signal.
I'm not too sure, Joe. That Fender went cheap on all their components. I'm not seeing a lot of returns coming in at any of the Fender dealer guys I know, and still sound great to me.
Well,
I won't use their Tone Master stuff for any of that crap.
Yeah, there's still their whole modeling thing that's, seems to be...
I'm not into that. Well. Yeah, as far as I know, they just moved their amp production from the U.S. to Mexico. Go figure.
Well, they also... they've reissued a lot of their old amps that are basically a modeling amp for one model.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you're going to do a Tone Master Princeton, it should be all the Princetons available, basically, or if you're going to do a deluxe, it should be all the deluxes.
Right. Instead, they just did their most famous one, like the blackface deluxe and the brown Princeton and...
Okay, so it's a 65 non-tweed with their mod, which has a mid-range control on the back.
I didn't know they had a special mod. That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's cool. Plus, you get to be that guy that's got the random knob on the back. The other crazies like us, those are, oh, what's that? What's that do? What's the thing? You'd be all subtle.
That would be blackface if it's a 65.
Yep.
You'll like that.
Or different speaker stuff, sure. Different speaker voicings, what have you. Yeah. I'm not sure how they can do that. I don't know. It's digital, so it's not my problem. That's their problem. I'm just a concept person.
Yeah, I like what Fender's doing, other than they're ridiculously expensive, but so is Gibson and everybody else.
Expensive. Yeah, everything's expensive. Chris has thoughts on the Lab series from Gibson. Worked for Ty Tabor.
My only complaint is they're heavy. They were built like brick shit houses. They sound fine. You know, who was it that played a crappy amp that made sound good? Kurt Cobain, you know, worked for him.
Yep.
You know, Terry Kath played a stereo system for a long time because he didn't want to change away from it. Worked for him.
Sure.
You know,
well, I think, the Lab series didn't BB King use one forever too?
Yeah, I never heard anybody really talk them down. I just never heard that, you know, like anybody being wowed by it back in the day. Yeah, that's when Gibson bought Moog.
Funny, Bo mentions the Music Man HD 130. I was commenting last night how that's an amp on my bucket list of amps I want to play through, because I have not played through one and I really want to check one out because they do a thing with the solid.
What?
At first, I didn't like the idea, Jim, of the solid state preamp with the tube power section, because for reliability, I'd want that reversed, you know, and have a nice warm tube preamp into a solid state power section that's going to just hold up. But on the other hand, I thought about it and I was like, well, on the other hand, solid state preamp is basically an overdrive pedal.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that into a tube power amp is fine by me. So that's why I just reversed my opinion on that, and I want to try one.
Well, I think from a modern perspective, the way to go is build a tube preamp and then use a Class D power amp.
Right.
A switching power amp is so efficient and so loud. You can push a huge amount of wattage without drawing that much current. I have a Bassman 70 head since 1994. It didn't work, then I had it retubed, and it hasn't had an issue since. It's a super
nice
30th tube anniversary. I don't use it much. Super clean and big.
No doubt. Nice.
You know, as the 60s ended and the 70s started, Fender went to the Silverface, which used a configuration that gave negative feedback to the screens, which made them what they call ultra linear.
Right. I'd be curious to check out one of those panels.
No distortion. They, you know, cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. That's what people hated about them so much.
It's funny, Bo, every Music Man HD 130 I've ever seen live in the wild all had casters on them. Not one of them was being carried. It was all being wheeled around.
Was that the amp that Eric Clapton was advertising for a while? And
I think so. Because, that was Leo's second foray into amp making. But, yeah, I think the 130 refers to not the wattage, but the weight.
Those sounded good.
I see. Tom saying he has a Line 600 watt head he likes. Hey, if it works for you.
I liked a lot of those late Bassman heads, the 100-watt heads. Why did Carvin amps blow tubes so often?
I think the only reason you're going to blow tubes is bias problems.
Yeah, they're probably biased a little hot. They also might have, as I'm trying to think how to word this well. The tubes built in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s could take over voltages pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But as time has gone on, they made tubes worse and worse and worse. And the carbon amps might have been, especially the early ones, might have been pushing the voltage past where they should have. And it just makes them eat tubes.
Well,
but generally, it's because you're biased.
I believe he had one that ate tubes, and then he got rid of it for next to nothing, and now he kicks himself. Now they knows that biasing exists in the world.
Yeah, it might not have had a bias on it. He might not even have known.
Right.
I mean, there are some amps, you know, for example.
Ted, remember the name. Holy shit, remember Ted's name. Anti-DIY HVAC. Ha ha! Well, that's one. We'll see what happens next time. And yeah, Hip wants to throw the old Fender Super Twin. That was 94 pounds of goodness.
They sounded good. Ted Nugent used them.
Right.
He used to have a whole stack of them on stage back when he was toward the end of his time with, what was the name of that band that he was with?
Damn Yankees?
What's that?
Damn Yankees?
No, the one before he was solo. Journey to the Center of Mind. And
oh, right. Oh. Amboy Dukes?
Amboy Dukes, yes.
All day, all night. Ding, 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 ding. Nice. Dan says, I run all my tube amps with a Variac at 110. My power company thinks 126 volts is just fine out of the plug. It's not.
I'm with you, Dan. I get a 126 out of my wall too, which is really bad on my vintage amps because they ran close to the top end of the tube voltages, and they're.
I was waiting for the local Carvin rep to weigh in on. Yeah. I'm just saying. Somebody was apparently having some issues with his Kiesel order. So, Jim, I've never really heard this in the music industry, but Bo went above the owner's head to his father to chew him out.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, only Bo. Only Bo would do that. I'm the owner of the company. I don't care. I'm getting your dad involved now.
Don't me have me. Don't let him spank you.
Michael Krause asks, have you ever worked on one of those cheap monoprice tube amps? If yes, thoughts?
Monoprice? No, I haven't heard of those. Where do I find one? I'll look into them. I'm always interested in a good cheap tube amp.
Right. What's up, Victor? Aloha.
You know, my problem is I haven't been, looking into buying any amps. I've got all my vintage stuff that I really love, so I really don't want anything else.
Monoprice.com.
I'll take a look at them. I'm not familiar with Monoprice.
I've never had a problem with any of my amps, Joe. I got a local tech if needed, but I don't know. I watch some of the amp repair channels.
Well, it depends on what kind of Laney copy they are. Are they a copy of the modern day Laney, or are they a copy of the vintage Laney? Because the vintage Laney was a piece of shit. The only reason they had any name at all is because Tony Iommi played their amps, and they made special amps just for him that weren't a piece of shit.
Right.
But their production line stuff was terrible.
That'd be like a guy that would say have a crate endorsement, right? You know he's going to have the best blue voodoos out there type thing.
Right.
Hip, we're waiting for that. You never did send it, Jimmy, the schematic. What model trainer do you have, by the way?
I like trainer amps, especially the older ones. I haven't.
Bulletproof.
They went out of business and somebody bought them again. So the trainer amps aren't the same company anymore.
Trainer is also Yorkville Sound, which is also owned by Long and McQuaid.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought somebody else bought them out again. So
Yorkville makes PA equipment, bass rigs, speaker cabs, And
all
then
coming in from China, or are they making them themselves?
Too.
Is all that coming in from China, Ben, or is they making it themselves?
Some stuff's made in Canada still, as far as I know. As far as a lot of the Yorkville, PA stuff, that I'm not sure on, because I always used PV PA stuff, because we didn't have a local Long McQuaid at the time, for one thing. But Yorkville stuff, it has the same rep as Trainer. It's cheap, but it fucking works and it lasts. Like you don't hear Yorkville stuff breaking down.
Well, that sounds very much like the modern day PV.
A YCS Custom 100. YCS Custom 100. It's a 2006 to 2008. That's right. I remember him talking about it. They only made it for just a few years.
I'll see if I can find a schematic out there. If you have one, forward it to me. I'll, leave me a way I can get it from you.
Yeah, I never tried a big Trainer head. Like every Trainer I ever saw growing up, it was always like a 5 to 15 watt little combo amp. So we never gave Trainer. The Trainer was always kind of looked down upon for that, because that's what everybody had. But on the other hand, I don't know where William Bologna is tonight, but the Jesus Lizard, who I know he's seen live, one of the first things they did when they got a gig in Canada was they bought fucking Trainer stacks and used them for years.
Trainer made good equipment. I mean, I have no complaint against it.
Systems.
It was well designed and really well built.
I got a little powered mixer over there that weighs a shit ton.
There was only one problem with Trainer. Nobody heard them here in America because it was a Canadian brand. Yep. By the time they broke into America and were starting to sell any units, they were already on the skids and falling apart.
Yeah, I want to say Pete Trainer.
Is that who it was?
Yeah, I want to say Pete Trainer. There's actually a YouTube video of Pete Trainer throwing one of his amp heads out the second story window of a music store, and then bringing it inside and plugging it in after replacing the tubes, because they didn't survive.
I agree, Tom. Trainer made good amps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be curious to see. So, like we were saying off air, I'd be curious, like, what were they kind of basing off of? Like, were they going for more of a Marshall thing? Were they going more of a Fender thing? Were they trying to do their own thing?
I've still, when I go out shopping and that, I've never seen a Trainer amp here in the States.
Which is weird, because being a border state, you think like
I'm not that far from Canada.
Yeah, you'd think some would leach across the border. It's like enough American gear leached across here.
Yeah, especially between Windsor and Detroit.
Especially. Must not have been a Trainer dealer in Windsor for the longest time.
Maybe not. Yeah.
That'd be my guess. Because that's all it would take, really.
Yeah.
Say a handful of bands doing cross-border shopping, and someone finds out, hey, these are cool. Because we know as guitar players, we'll do it.
That's kind of what happened. Is by the end of Trainer's run, they started to get a reputation here in America as a quality piece of equipment for low money.
Right.
And so people were bringing them over. Then they started to sell them here, but it was too late. Trainer was already dead.
I do remember custom amps with their tuck and roll finish.
That was all solid state.
Yep. Made by Ross. Do Ellen own Trainer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it was Ross Company that made them, yeah.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it was one of the most reliable solid state amps built in that era. Gibson couldn't build a reliable solid state amp, and Fender couldn't build one, but Custom did.
Well, that was the thing, unbelievable. Like the aesthetic of the Trainer, like we thought about, like oh, they're your dad's amps. Like you can't be cool and play a Trainer.
You're right. It was a mistake. They had a good sound, and the price was just fantastic.
Were you dropped as a child, Chris? I'm just saying, because Murray's real name is Chris. I'm going full bore here. Nobody I want snowy winters. Nobody wants snowy winters. No. First time you got to shovel it, you don't want it anymore. Trust me.
Try Benton Harbor.
All the snow.
No. Well, yes, but Benton Harbor is also, we call it the anus of Michigan. It's not doing well.
So
if you're looking for, I mean, it all depends as far as Michigan goes. If you're looking for a beautiful area that's really growing, but it's quite expensive, I'd go to Traverse City.
Mm-hmm.
If you're are you looking for the wilds? Where it's.
I had to figure this out because Bo said he had something, and we know Bo doesn't get rid of anything, but then it says it was stolen. Like, okay.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Those Sun amps are pretty rare. Was it
the early Sun stuff
or was it the Guitar Head?
Right. Yeah, like the early Sun stuff really good, and then later when they got popular, it was all solid state stuff, and it wasn't as good.
And again, demand exceeded supply, so they had to do something.
Yep. Tom Lyle, Skidoo guy. I love a big heating bill.
Well, if you really want snow, the west side of the state's where you go, because that gets all the lake effect from Lake Michigan. If you don't want a ton of snow, then you probably want to move somewhere near the Thumb and down to Detroit.
This is true. A guilty pleasure, Dave, is to get one, a DoD amp.
Really? I didn't know they made amps.
Yeah. And the thing that makes me want one is some of them have built-in effects. So, like, not only is it the Dodd amp, but you get some shitty-ass Dodd fucking chorus or something as well. You have mail. I do. All right. I have a bunch of mail. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I mean,
PDF.
South Texas, you're going to pay air conditioning. Here in Michigan, you're going to pay for heating.
So what I'm going to do, Hip, is forward, include the attachments, forward off to Jim for his perusal, and then you can talk during the next Spotter Buffalo meeting.
Okay.
See how that works.
Oh,
membership has privileges.
Yeah, give me a chance to look some stuff up. Are you having a problem with it, Ken?
No, he just wants more info, I think.
Oh, okay.
And because it's a trainer, it's something different, right?
Hold on to it, man. They're a good amp.
He's only played it once, I believe.
Well, I can understand with that, like that whole wall of amps that's always behind him. You don't have time.
Right.
Only so much time.
He's currently building a pedal board for himself. So. Glenn says, I still use the DoD freeze box chorus. Do I have one of those? Oh, now you gotta look.
I agree with your guitar, 1952. I love my Fender amps.
Oh.
I've got a Fender concert from 1960.
One of these, Michael? There you go. It was the year of the Dodd, not too long ago.
Played it 3 times now.
Right. Ooh. Yeah, that's what I thought. Blue Mox, I grew up in Michigan and the up now. Washington State.
UP.
Most well.
UP.
Upper Peninsula, right?
Yes, UP.
Christine's most wild winter in the highest climate. Right.
I went to school in the UP. I went to school at Michigan Tech.
Ooh. Chris says, Jim, different Chris from the last Chris that just got yelled at. Jim, PV Windsor popped up recently. Worth a look?
Heck yeah. Those are good amps.
Wow. Dave. You've been holding out. I'm like, yesterday, you anything you want to show off? Nope. Really? You got all the Dodds. Or you just waiting for the next time Scott Brockway shows up and then you just say,
oh, those solid state amps?
Bo's first amp was the Epiphone Zephyr, 1964, 15 watts, 112 combo.
Nice.
And
I have a 1966 Epiphone amp.
Blue Mox says his dad went to Michigan Tech.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, we're going to go a little while longer here, folks. I'm not keeping Jim up too late here because, you know, he's going to work it. No, apparently I'm playing chauffeur tomorrow. I was going to go shoot demos tomorrow, but instead my sister's like, I need weed, I need vape pods, I need to go grocery shopping, and I got to meet someone for a face-based marketplace deal because she sold something.
You got to practice your
So I guess
triumph.
I need the travel guitar to figure that out. Late 60s electronic engineering degree.
Nice. Oh, nice. I was there in the 80s.
I personally have never been.
I got a math degree, believe it or not.
Monk says my actual first amp was a Silvertone built into a guitar into the guitar case. Yeah, I remember those.
Should have held on to that, man. Those things are in demand.
And I would rather have the amp built into the case than into the guitar itself.
The only problem with them is they were highly unsafe. They didn't have any isolation transformer in them, so you were hooked right up to the mains. And there was quite often it was just cardboard that covered the amp. So the cardboard disappeared. The amp was right there.
I think I first came across Lyle about 4.5 years ago. 4 years? 3 years? 4 years? I don't know. And then it was about 6 months before he was on Tone Talk. I remember that. And his channel blew up. Go figure. A Gibson dual medalist. Wow, Tom. Some people are dating themselves. I'm just saying. And then Bo was like, just throwing it out there. You're not the only one that can build an amp. I built a Heathkit amp.
Okay.
I
built the Heathkit amp too. I still have it.
Jim.
I still have it. It's great. All solid state, man. It rocks. 50 watts of screaming clean power.
The hell is that, Eston? Right? Epiphone did a triple rectifier? What? 2-channel, 35-watt tube amp with 212s. Great amp, but heavy as hell. No shit.
Yeah, they made 2 amps. In the
I just remember the little Epiphone amps. Like the
yeah,
little
most people bought those because they were modifying them.
Right.
So they were everywhere.
Charles has one of those little Epi. Actually, Charles has a couple of Epiphone amps. If I'm not mistaken, he's got a combo and a head. Charles, if you're still around while you're not shopping.
Oh, nice find. Is it the guitar amp or is it still one of the bass amps, Michael?
Right.
Because Ampeg was also famous for some of their guitar amps early on. They made nice combo amps that competed with Fender.
Who's talking about Ampeg amp? Skunk Baxter in the Beato interview was talking about
Damn
Ampeg.
it. He's got to shut up. He's ruining it.
Right.
When I saw him, he was throwing out modeling technology. I saw him at Sweetwater.
Dan says, my first amp was a Fender Sidekick 10 from 1985, and I still use it several times a week. Little 8-inch speaker is the best bedroom amp. Cool.
Yeah.
So Kraus says the amp needed work, guitar amp needed work, but well worth the $20. Hell, as a shelf piece, it's $20 just for the housing.
The speaker alone is worth $20.
Anything, yeah. Just as a conversation piece. All right, easy. Might have only been 15. All right, easy, Mike. Yeah. For those that don't know, Mike likes buying guitar brands that I despise. And he goes, look what I got, Ben. And I was like, that's disgusting. I wouldn't pay more than $150 for it. He goes, yeah, well, I paid $63. I went, oh. I guess I would have bought it too at that price. Because that's how Mike rolls.
Yeah, my vintage Gibsons I didn't have much into. My stepbrother bought, who's a fabulous guitar player, gave me the Epiphone and sold me the Gibson for like $100.
Yes, Gary, you need to report in for tomorrow night. I have a head in the lower basement. I'm just like, what? Okay, sure. Been there so long, he doesn't remember what it is. I have to drag it out tomorrow. Yeah. If it's been there that long, you don't remember what it is. Probably has some good tubes in it. There's Mr. Milk.
You guys are looking for good tubes. Keep your eye out at yard sales for old consoles, because those things are loaded with quality tubes that are great for your amps.
Yep.
Most of them got thrown out or trashed in the 80s, but they're still out there.
Definitely, Dave's like, I like my Friedman JG Jr.
Yeah,
I like my Friedman JG Jr. too, Dave.
I'd like to own a Friedman.
I would love to replace that DSL 20 with a JJ Jr. That would be the ultimate, but that's not going to happen.
I have a lot of respect for Dave's work. He's really good.
Ridiculously expensive in this country because there's only a handful of dealers. I remember looking at some
Motor City Guitars is a Friedman dealer. I go there every once in a while and drool on their amps.
That's where Bo was yesterday when he was missing the meeting, apparently. He was told me.
I love Motor City Guitars, but it's temptation because they carry everything.
Wait till Bo says, yeah, go into the back room. You think that's...
Oh, I know.
He'll kill us. And Bo, see, I'm not the only one who forgets what's in the inventory. Bo has spreadsheets to keep it all straight at this point. And he's outsourced it. He doesn't even keep track of it. His daughter keeps track of everything.
Well, she's got to know
it's a full-time job. Dave says, met Friedman at a concert in Detroit. Nice.
Yeah, Michael, it's not surprising that the speaker wasn't original. I have the original speaker for my 66 Gibson, but it's got a replacement in there right now because I don't want to take a chance of it getting blown.
Sure. I met Dave Friedman at least 3 times before I interviewed him, and when I interviewed him, he's like, "Yeah, we've never met." I'm like, "We have actually several times. I don't expect you to remember it, but we have in fact met 3 times at 2 NAMM shows, and then when he came up to Cosmo one year for their event."
And I mentioned it in the meeting, but Bruce Ignator has amp classes in the new year, if anybody's interested.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken both his classes. He knows what he's doing. I guarantee you, if you're at least interested and can afford it, that you will gain benefit from doing his classes.
So Murray wants to snag some of that cheap Detroit real estate, but live near Motor City Guitars so he can.
Well, Motor City Guitars and the cheap real estate are about 40 miles apart. Motor City Guitars is actually just on the west end of Pontiac. All the cheap stuff's downtown. And it surprisingly, just like I thought it would happen, with Detroit, nothing was going to happen until they could condemn enough houses and tear them down so that they could start over.
I think.
And then what's going to happen is the big real estate developers are going to come in, buy whole blocks, and do multi-use housing and
we're going to have
modern parks and bicycle paths between the houses instead of the back garages and that stuff.
Sure.
Detroit's going to be a really cool city in another 20 years.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to need to get Dave on at some point. He's got, I made a 50 water with Bruce. I'm like, all right. And I know he's been out to Texas Toast, I'm pretty sure, because Paul was talking there yesterday like he's known Dave forever and a day. So I'm like, what is going on? Hey, I know Dave from the chats, but.
Yeah, I built the 50 water too. I also took his second class. He has another class that's just strictly theory and where you get to pick his brain. He did all these Randall amps. I have a Randall RM50 head with it's the precursor to the modern one. What's Egnator doing right now? What's the name of that?
Oh, the Synergy stuff.
The Synergy. He started out with Randall with those modules that plugged in. And I have a whole bunch of those modules, and I got all the schematics from Bruce directly.
I pay attention, Dave.
Who knows? He hasn't offered that second class many times. Maybe we're in the same class.
Right. Who knows? Well, we did an hour here. I'm quite happy about that, Jim.
Okay.
And because we got to leave the crowd wanting more. And all that. It's just Bo.
And I'll look at some of that stuff up, Ken, and let you know.
Yeah.
Chris, stay in touch on that amp problem you're having, because
yep.
I think we can do some things to kind of figure out what the problem might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, encore. I knew it. Thanks, Chris. And just so you know, folks, I will be back tomorrow night with Canucks with Guitars, apparently playing a Triumph song. Some kind or sort.
Hey, if you're busking for money, you got to please the customer.
That's right. Well, I do remember watching an interview with Rick Emmett, and he said the chorus to Lay It on the Line is just Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. So I think I know that one.
Did you ever see Triumph?
No, I just recorded my album at their studio, though.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I got to meet. I met Rick and their drummer, whose name escapes me at the moment. Gilmore, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Gil's office is like right off the lobby for some reason.
I saw him in 1984. They were headlining a show. It was Triumph, Ozzy, Motley Crue, Rat, and Accept.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of music. Chris
Triumph
is
was
exactly, Keith. I see what you did there. Oh, Keith is always good for a one-liner every once in a while. That's good to see. So, yeah, back tomorrow night, and we'll have bad album covers with Charles, as always. He's playing Midsummer Daydream during the acoustic session. Oh, yeah, because Bo's doing the acoustic portion, but he's like Led Zeppelin. He rocks out, then does an acoustic portion, then back to rock. All right. Easy. I don't know what we'll have for demos or videos coming out this week because I haven't shot any yet. So we'll see how that works out. Could be a setup video. Could be a demo. I don't know. Could be anything. So, and if you want to pick Jim's brain further before he comes on the next Sunday night hang, become a channel member or a patron. He'll be there in 10 days.
Mid-month, we'll have a hang. You can ask me questions then.
There we go. So hold the line here, Jim, and we'll talk off air. And thanks, everybody that tuned in. And again, if you haven't already, hit that like, please subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Hold those doors open. Let Bo in ahead of you in traffic. He's got to go to Motor City Guitars. He's got several on layaway. Saying, including a Murphy Lab.
Ooh, nice.
Don't litter, folks.